You are watching an urgent Combine update, and I'll cut right to the chase. Two podium moments at the NFL Scouting Combine just dropped, and they both matter to the 49ers Super Bowl window. First, the Ravens front office publicly told the league they've made a market-setting offer to keep their stud center in-house. That's the phrase they used on the record, which means this is not a token negotiation. It's a money and commitment move. That changes the landscape for any team thinking about upgrading the middle of their offensive line, because a market-setting deal for a center effectively raises the price for every top interior lineman on the market. Second, a few podiums over, the Raiders' general manager repeatedly said he expects his elite edge rusher to be on their roster next season and that their relationship is strong. Another on-the-record pushback against trade chatter. That public stance lowers the odds of a blockbuster trade, at least right now, and it also signals the Raiders want to control the narrative and the price. So for you, sitting in the faithful community, what matters? Two things. The 49ers still have a glaring need in the interior of the offensive line, and the most talked-about pass rusher on the market is being publicly protected by his team. That means the realistic path for improvement this offseason is a careful mix of priorities, and I'll walk you through exactly what that looks like. But first, let's set expectations. If you care only about immediate impact, a true top-of-market center improves pass protection and run blocking in ways that elevate every play caller's design. If you want a seismic defensive upgrade, a top edge rusher alongside your franchise guy is a different kind of catalyst. But the cost is likely higher and less certain if the other team is saying, "We're keeping him." Quick check-in for the comments. Right now, do you think the 49ers should prioritize signing a top center or chasing an elite pass rusher? Vote in the comments, type center or edge, so I can pin the results and react in the next video. Now, why does that center matter so much? Because when you watch the film under pressure, in playoff environments, in prime-time matchups, the difference between a center who can anchor and one who gets pushed into the quarterback's lap is the difference between a 2-minute drive and being knocked out of the playoffs. We've all seen the late-game breakdowns. Those plays stick with you. I want you to picture the last time the offense stalled in a big spot. 2 plays later, the entire season can turn. That's not drama. It's roster reality. Mid-roll quick hit. Keep this energy up for the viewers. If you're enjoying this breakdown, smash that subscribe button, hit the bell, and help the channel hit 2,000 subscribers. Every sub helps us grow coverage for the faithful. If you want to directly power better production, use Super Thanks or Hype to support the channel. It's not a donation, it's fuel for our quest for the next Super Bowl trophy, and it helps upgrade our gear so we can bring you better breakdowns and more on-site coverage from events like this Combine. That mid-roll won't take long, but it makes a real difference. Right after this, I'll break down the cap realities and why we might see a hybrid approach rather than an all-in trade for a top pass rusher. When you talk about investing in a true top-tier center, you're not just talking about upgrading one position on the depth chart. You're talking about changing the way your entire offense functions, from snap one to the final drive of a playoff game. That's why this potential market-setting deal matters so much. The Ravens' general manager made it clear they've offered a contract that would reset the position financially, which tells you exactly how they view their guy. As foundational, not replaceable. And if that contract gets done, the price tag for any elite center across the league is officially established. That's the ripple effect. Now, let's bring this back to you and the 49ers. The biggest issue over the last few seasons hasn't been play design. It hasn't been skill talent. It hasn't been creativity. It's been what happens when the interior collapses against elite defensive fronts. When the middle of the pocket caves in, the quarterback can't step up. When the quarterback can't step up, timing routes die. And when timing routes die in January, seasons end. A center like Linderbaum changes that equation immediately. He's not just snapping the football, he's setting protections. He's identifying blitz packages. He's helping guards with communication against stunts and twists. And most importantly, he anchors. When a 320-pound defensive tackle tries to forklift the pocket, you need someone who doesn't give ground. That 1-yard difference between holding the line and getting walked back into the quarterback's lap is everything. Here's the real conversation, though. Money. Repeat. The market is pushing past $18 million per year for a center. You have to ask yourself, is that a luxury or is it a necessity? For a rebuilding team, maybe that's too rich. But for a team that believes its championship window is open right now, that's a different calculation. You're not paying for a position label. You're paying for playoff stability. And here's something else to consider. Investing in a dominant center elevates the players around him. Guards play more confidently when they trust the call next to them. The run game becomes more consistent between the tackles. Short yardage situations become less stressful. Think about how many times you've held your breath on 3rd and 1 or 4th and 2. An elite interior presence turns those into conversion situations instead of coin flips. Let me ask you this directly. Would you be comfortable paying top-of-market money for a center if it meant stabilizing the offense for the next 4 or 5 years? Yes or no? Drop it in the comments. I want to see where the faithful stands on this because this is a philosophical decision as much as a financial one. Now, the counter-argument is simple. That money could go toward multiple rotational linemen. It could be used to retain defensive talent. It could be rolled over to maintain flexibility. That's why this offseason feels so pivotal. This front office has historically prioritized skill positions early and often. But when you stack up the playoff exits and the games where the offense stalled against elite pass rushes, it becomes harder to ignore the pattern. There's also a cultural piece here. When you invest heavily in the offensive line, you're sending a message about identity. You're saying, we are going to win at the line of scrimmage. We're not going to finesse our way through January. We're going to impose our will. That's the blueprint that has worked for multiple championship teams over the years. Quick pause. If you're locked into this breakdown and you want daily updates like this through free agency and the draft, make sure you're subscribed. We're pushing toward 2,000 subscribers, and every single one of you helps build this community stronger. If you want to go the extra mile, use super thanks or hype below the video. That's not just support, that's you fueling the quest for the next Super Bowl trophy and helping upgrade our production for the faithful. We're building this together. Now, let's zoom out. If the Ravens close that deal, the 49ers likely pivot. If negotiations stall and a window opens, that's when things get interesting. But either way, the front office has to decide whether it's finally time to break philosophy and truly prioritize the interior. Because here's the bottom line. When the playoffs arrive, finesse disappears, power remains, and if you don't control the A-gaps, someone else will. Coming up next, we're going to shift to the defensive side of the ball and talk about the blockbuster scenario everyone is dreaming about. Adding an elite edge rusher opposite your franchise cornerstone. I'll break down the realistic trade cost, the injury concerns, and whether that move is bold brilliance or reckless overpay. Now, let's talk about the move that would absolutely shake the league. Adding an elite pass rusher opposite your franchise defensive cornerstone. This is the type of headline move that makes every national show talk about the 49ers for a week straight. Pairing a relentless, high-motor edge. Rusher with your established star off the edge sounds like something out of a video game. On paper, it's terrifying for opposing quarterbacks. In reality, it's complicated. At the podium, the Raiders' general manager made it clear he expects his star defender to remain with the team. He emphasized their strong relationship and the value of elite players when building a roster. That's not surprising. No general manager is going to publicly announce he's open for business on one of the best defensive players in football. But here's what matters. When a GM speaks that confidently, it usually means one of two things. Either they truly intend to keep the player, or the price just went up. So, let's talk price. If you're the 49ers, you're not just trading for a name. You're trading for a contract north of $30 million per year in cap-hit territory. You're trading for a player coming off knee surgery. You're trading draft capital, potentially a first-round pick plus additional assets. That's the real equation. Now, from a football standpoint, the fit is obvious. The 49ers value defensive ends who can rush the passer and hold up against the run. This player does both at a high level. He's been among the league leaders in pressures since entering the NFL. He plays with a motor that doesn't stop. And lining him up opposite your current star would prevent offenses from sliding protection every snap to one side. That changes the math for offensive coordinators immediately. Imagine, 3rd and long in January. 2 elite edge rushers pinning their ears back. Defensive coordinator dialing up simulated pressures. That's how you close games. That's how you protect leads. That's how you avoid overtime heartbreak scenarios. But here's the other side. Draft capital matters. This roster isn't perfect. You need depth at multiple spots. If you give up a first-round pick and more, you're betting heavily on health and immediate impact. You're also compressing your financial flexibility. So I want you to think about this carefully. Would you trade a first-round pick for an elite pass rusher if it meant sacrificing future draft depth? Yes or no? Drop it below. And if you're bold, tell me the exact trade package you would offer. 1 first and a third? 2 seconds? I want specifics. There's also the injury history to consider. The 49ers have battled the injury bug for years. Adding another player coming off surgery carries risk. That doesn't mean you avoid talent. It just means your medical evaluations have to be airtight. If you miss on that assessment, the cap hit becomes painful quickly. Strategically, this comes down to identity. Do you believe defense wins championships in today's NFL? Or do you believe offensive stability should come first? You likely can't fully commit to both a top market center and a blockbuster edge trade without significant roster restructuring. Here's where this becomes fascinating. If the Raiders' public stance softens closer to the draft, that's when negotiations get real. If they double down and extend him, the door closes. So the 49ers front office has to monitor the situation without overcommitting. Quick reminder, if you're loving these deep dives, make sure you're subscribed. We're building something special here for the faithful, and we're pushing toward that 2,000 subscriber milestone. If you want to directly support the channel, tap Super Thanks or Hype below the video. That's you fueling the quest for the next Super Bowl trophy and helping us bring more combine coverage, more insider analysis, and better production quality for this community. Now here's the pivot. What if the smartest move isn't going all in on one headline acquisition? What if the real championship blueprint is a balanced hybrid approach? Strengthening the interior line, adding a mid-tier rotational edge, and preserving draft capital. In the final chapter, I'm going to lay out a realistic roadmap. How the 49ers can attack this offseason strategically, what dominoes need to fall, and what you should be watching for as free agency unfolds. All right, Let's bring this home and map out what a realistic, championship-caliber offseason actually looks like for this team. If you step back and remove the emotion, the smartest path probably isn't the splashiest one. It's not just throwing draft picks at a blur. You're subscribed because we're pushing toward 2,000 subscribers. And every new member of the faithful strengthens this community. If you want to go a step further, tap Super Thanks or Hype below the video. That's not a donation, that's you fueling the quest for the next Super Bowl trophy and helping us upgrade production quality for everyone who bleeds red and gold. We're building this together. This is going to be one of the most important off-seasons of the current era. The decisions made over the next few weeks could define whether this team finally lifts that Lombardi or keeps knocking on the door.